Oh, welcome to You Know Me, a podcast for Brunswick and the Golden Isles. I'm Buddha,
This is The Beard.
and we're here featuring businesses, restaurants, musicians, and all the great people that make Brunswick and the Golden Isles a fun place to live. And so, how was your week, man? Did you have a good week?
I did. I had to work. Did you have a good week?
Man, it was a week and a half for me, I'll tell you.
Yeah, you got that crazy drive from Savannah.
It is a crazy drive, and it's one of those days. And luckily, we're at a place that when you have a week like mine, you can really work out that frustration.
Right. You can unload and you can drink and throw axes.
Exactly. Throw some axes. Maybe put a picture of your ex or your boss or something like that, and just have at it.
Don't tell your boss.
So why don't you introduce our guest?
Yeah. So we're at Matted Ox today, and our special guest today is Jason. Hey, Jason. How are you today?
Hey, Michael, what's going on?
Not much. Go ahead. Introduce yourself to everybody.
All right, so I don't know where you want me to start, but Jason Kirkendall, my wife and I own Matted Ox Axe Throwing here in downtown Brunswick, specifically 1510 Bay Street, right across the street from Mary Ross Park. I, like a lot of people that y'all know and talk to, I do a bunch of different things. I work full-time. I don't like talking about that. I've got Matted Ox, obviously, and I'm also a realtor here in the Golden Isles and go all over southeast Georgia. And then I've got an awesome wife and 4 awesome kids.
Yeah, that's awesome. So, yeah, you just recently became a real estate agent, correct?
Yeah, that was at the end of last year, November of last year. Something I'd always thought that sounded interesting and always had genuine interest in the topic, but had never really figured out a way to pursue it. And finally my wife said, now's the time, and jumped on it, took the class, and trying to jump in with 2 feet, and sometimes 1 foot gets hung up on the ledge a little bit. So,
Tell me about it.
It's always that way, right? Like you try, even with this, you try something new or you want to do something, and you try to jump in with 2 feet, but you realize sometimes stuff gets in the way. But we always seem to make it work somehow.
I don't know what I would do if I didn't try to jump in 2 feet with everything. Obviously we want to do our best, and I'll always do that. I don't want to do anything half-ass, but it's amazing how many little obstacles you run into along the way of trying to really jump in.
Yeah. So let's talk about Matted Ox.
Awesome.
So how long have you run Matted Ox or owned Matted Ox, or how long has it been open?
So we opened the doors July 2nd of 2021. That was at our old location over on Scranton. And then April of 22, we added the ox cart, our mobile axe throwing trailer. And then April of 23, we came downtown. So we closed late March, reopened in late April down here. And so we've been, short of a month and, let's just call it 5 weeks. We'll hit 1 year downtown.
And then this is always curious to me. How did you come up with the name Matted Ox?
So I've got to give my wife credit for the naming. But originally when we started naming things, or trying to come up with how to brand, right? As y'all know, trying to brand your podcast or brand anything else, you've got to come up with all of the things, and you're limited only by what you can think of. So we originally were going to call it Mad Max. So my youngest, my only boy, his name is Maddox, and we call him Mad Max on a semi-regular basis. And so that was the plan, was Mad Max. And then we're like, okay, we really want to copy a movie. Maybe there's something else. And my wife started kind of throwing things out, and Matted Ox came up. I'm like, okay, what the heck's Matted Ox? And when you really think about it, there's a musk ox.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes, and they're matted, and it's kind of looks like whatever a matted ox might be.
Yeah.
But it became Matted Ox. She threw that out there. We talked about it. It sounded like a really good idea. Looked on branding, created our buffalo or ox logo. Said, okay, we can do this, and there we go. We got Matted Ox. So it's semi-named after my son, but not really. Mm-hmm. It really comes down to branding, right? Is it something that people ask a question about? Okay, what's Matted Ox? Well, I think if you say what's Matted Ox, maybe we've got something there.
Yeah, and actually, I think it's actually very excellent branding, because when I see Matted Ox and then I see the ox, it immediately makes me think of, it's funny, but flannels. right? And then when you think of flannels, you think of lumberjacks.
Yeah, Paul
And
Bunyan.
then,
Yeah.
And then immediately, then it just fits in with the whole axe throwing theme. So the branding is right on. So it's an awesome job with that.
Well, thank you. Like I said, wife gets the naming credit, and then we create our own logo in-house. Just kind of, it's something that I think I'm creative. I don't know if I'm really as creative as I think I am. I have no artistic ability is where my limitation comes in, so I have to find art that someone else owns.
Yeah, I'm the same way. I can't draw a stick figure. So.
No. You wouldn't be able to tell it was a stick figure if I drew it. So
Right. It's funny because some people get me confused with Nick and the tattoo artist, and some people just think I'm a tattoo artist because I guess the way that I look, and I'm like, yeah, you don't want me tattooing you because I wouldn't even be able to draw a stick figure on your body.
I can't even draw a straight line with a ruler.
yeah, it's gonna go off sideways for me. So.
Yeah, I'm very bad at drawing.
So you've been here for a while. You've had a lot of customers come in. What is the technique? What is the trick to throwing an axe?
You want to try to make it stick, Frank. That's the technique.
What's the?
Not the outcome. The technique. I'm sorry, I confused that. Limiting the rotation, right? When I say limiting the rotation, at least your influence on the rotation. The goal is to let go of the axe and let the axe do the work. If you let the axe do the work, it's going to have a normal rotation. Perfect throw is one rotation from release to impact, at least from 12 feet, where we throw from. I'll call it the semi-standard of axe throwing. 12 feet, one rotation. There's obviously some science and some math behind that, but the goal is to let go of the axe, let the axe do its own rotation. Obviously, you start getting a longer handle or heavier head, you then have to influence it a little bit differently. But the average brand new person walks in the door, we're going to try to get them to not screw up what the axe is going to do on its own.
So it's not like in the movies where someone's chucking an axe and it's just spinning down the.
I mean, that's going to work. It's going to hurt when it hits whatever it hits, but the likelihood of sticking is slim to none. It really comes down to science at that point. It's physics that's going to tell you how fast it's going to rotate.
So what made you decide to go with axe throwing business?
My wife asked me that question often on why the hell I decided that I wanted to have an axe throwing business. I guess a little bit of historical. We had a vending business in 2018. We opened a vending business here in Brunswick. We bought a business opportunity, and if you're not familiar with that, the concept is like a franchise. Mm-hmm. Okay. But business opportunities are similar. But different in there are no long-term connections, royalties either. All right, so you buy into it. They provide training and coaching, and then you are running an independent business. You can always go back to them for more advice or information, but really you're on your own. So long story started that. Along the way, you meet people. Obviously, you go to physical training. I met somebody who was a retired Navy, just got out of the Navy, and he lived in Arkansas, and we ended up talking on a semi-regular basis, obviously going down the same journey of vending and just learning from each other. And he started telling me about a friend of his who had opened an axe throwing venue, and I was like, oh, that sounds pretty cool. And then he told me about the financial end and how they were doing, and I was like, okay, that sounds pretty cool. Mm-hmm. I was like, I can do that, and I like to do a little bit of woodworking, nothing crazy, but I built a target, we put it in the backyard, and we started throwing axes in the backyard. I said, okay, we can do this. My wife kind of put a limit on it. She said, we're not starting something new until you get rid of what you currently have, right, which was vending. Timing-wise, it just happened to work out. There was somebody was interested in buying the vending business. They'd come to us and said, hey, we're interested in buying when you're interested in selling. I'll say I sold it in April, and July we started talking earlier than April, but we closed on our deal in April, and then July we opened Matadocs. So it really was just kind of you can call me a serial entrepreneur. I grew up, my dad always had something. I called them get rich schemes, not necessarily businesses, but he always had some idea, and I was in the military for 20 years and worked for the federal government, and you don't have much control, and so the thought of always having control of where you go in the future, which is I think where the real estate thing comes from as well, vending, axe throwing, kind of all just fits into those things.
Nice.
So you mentioned franchise. Did you ever thought about maybe franchising Matted Hawks?
I think there's potential. There are some franchises out there in the axe throwing community as a whole. The guy that owns and started the World Axe Throwing League also has the largest franchise of axe throwing venues in the world, Canada and the U.S. specifically. It's something that could be done, but really, I think in most cases of a successful franchise, it starts with one place. And then that same owner then opens a second place or a third place, and then you get to a point going, okay, now other people are seeing that. Are we going to get to that level? Probably not, realistically. But I think there are some things that we do here that could be duplicated. I will say that we openly share that information, right? I have friends that own axe throwing venues, and we talk pretty regularly and share. And we all do business a little bit differently, but we kind of share our best practices and try to work those things. So I don't know. I think the more successful everybody is in the axe throwing community, the more successful I'm going to be.
Right.
Agreed, because it's popular, and it's a pretty sound business model for creating a franchise, because you have a specific design. You've got a startup cost that can be reasonable, and with some training, so you can, because when I came here, you had to show us how to do it, because I would have just gripped it and ripped it. And,
most people want to, yeah.
And so, because that's my perception, because you're going off of what you see on TV and the movies, and some guy just takes his axe and goes down and it's spinning like a buzzsaw and hits its mark, and it's like, okay, that's not really how it works.
Yeah. That's what when I first started, I was like, but then you guys had showed me the right way how to do it, and I still can't hit the target.
Well, that I will say that we've never had anybody come in, knock on wood, that hasn't been able to stick it. Now, do they stick it as regularly as they wanted to stick it, or we want them to stick it? Maybe, maybe not. But yeah, there's definitely a level of training that you have to do. We think it's important, not to get too philosophical about this, but the reality is we get people that are a lot of first timers. We do get repeat customers, which is great. Y'all have been in here multiple times on your own throwing, and which is awesome. And when I see my Square report that talks about, okay, this many returning customers, I mean, that's awesome. But the reality is most people are walking in for the very, very first time. And it's not the cheapest activity to do either, so that they've chose to come down here and spend money, which is awesome. So I owe them something.
Right.
And that's the expectation, not only from me, but to the employees as well. So whether you're working with me as an axe throwing coach or you're working with somebody else, the expectation is that we owe them something. We're going to create an experience. One of the things that I really find important is that if I get a tourist here, and it's not that I'm trying to take tourist money, but the fact is there's somebody like me in their community that has an axe throwing venue that they've never gone to, but they decided on vacation to go to an axe throwing venue. I owe it to that place in middle of nowhere, Kansas, to create an experience for that customer, so that they go back and do that at their local venue.
Right.
Not to, like I said, not to get too philosophical, but we owe it, right? It's a small community of axe throwing venues. Yeah, okay, there's probably 5,000 of us across the country. But I need those return customers, and I know they do too.
Right.
So if someone's willing to spend their first time with us, then I'm going to make it the best experience possible. And I want to train them, and I want to teach them and show them how to do the safety side of it, and of course offer everything we can. But I want them to go back to their hometown and spend money in their local business doing it.
Right.
And that's talking about return customers. That's important for us as customers, is getting the attention, the respect from the business owner, just so we can keep on coming back, because we had such a great time, at the venue, at the place, axe throwing or restaurant, right? For us to keep coming back. So that's an important aspect of business.
Generically, we call it customer service, right? But the reality is, that Google review or that Facebook comment that says, "Hey, they did." Cameron, who is also my nephew, but also my longest standing employee, Cameron showed us how to do everything and walked us through it. We had such a great time. That's awesome, right? Those are the comments that I love, because I know that person either they're going to do it here again or they're going to go somewhere else and do it, and they have an expectation that's high.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
what I want. I want them to have a high expectation.
And then, like, especially with this, like, if you get somebody and you don't have anyone that shows them how to do it, and then they get frustrated, they're going to be like, well, I'm not going to do that again.
Yes.
So it's important that returning customers to. So,
For sure. For sure.
yeah. And I know I had Cameron teach me a couple, and he's awesome. He's great.
Cameron does an awesome job. He is able to see, so people will be surprised that, okay, we'll tell you, okay, move up 2 inches, and all of a sudden it sticks. And I'm like, how the hell do you know 2 inches to move up? And it's like, you can watch the axe, you can see what it's doing. But Cameron, probably a month in, 6 weeks in, he can see those same things. We have some other employees that are good throwers, but not as good at actually recognizing those little things. Okay, scoot up here, scoot up there, scoot back, do this with your thumb, whatever. But Cameron does a great job. Plus, he understands customer service. He worked in a grocery store. He worked in a pharmacy. He goes to college now, and I mean, he understands customer service. But he also understands that he's related to the owners, and so he's in essence part of that ownership team. He may not have that same vested interest, but he knows that we care about it. We've created that expectation.
Yeah.
It's great. I've always had a great experience here. But this is a great spot for like businesses to come with like team development or a bachelor party type of thing. Are you finding some of that? You're getting a lot of that?
Yes, we do a lot, especially around Christmas time.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we do them throughout the year, but we get hit pretty hard in a good way during the Christmas time, where Christmas parties, because they're going to do the gift giving thing. They're going to do the white elephant or whatever, and they're going to maybe give out bonus checks depending on the year that company had. But they don't want to just sit around. They want to do some type of activity, and that's been awesome. We've had one business that has done their Christmas party with us every year since we've opened, which is awesome. I mean, because they obviously are getting something out of it that they're willing to come back 3 years in a row. So they did one here this year, and they did 2 at the old location. But we do a team building quite a bit. We do those private events for different purposes, everything from church groups to bachelor parties, bachelorette parties, and it's amazing how many women throw axes. It really is. And you look, social media I know is a little goofy, because you do find more women on social media than you do men. But I looked the other day, and like our followers are, I think it was 75-25 women to men.
Wow.
And I would say in most cases, on an average night, you're going to find more women throwing than you are men.
And you do have a ladies' night, correct?
We do have a ladies' night. Thursday night, that's half off for ladies that walk in.
Wow. Yeah, I see. I follow you, of course, on social media and the pictures you post, and I do see that it's mostly women throwing axes. So that's awesome.
The other thing is that people would rather see women throw. They'd rather see pictures of women than they do men. So maybe the social media is a little biased in that I'm going to post more women pictures, because that's going to get more attention.
Or, some bearded guys. You can get in there.
As good looking as we are, no one wants to see us in a picture or a video.
Yeah.
But I think there's a little strategery in the posting of women as well, right? So they want to see that this is open, that everybody can be successful, right? Not an inclusive thing, but just from the standpoint of, okay, well, obviously women are throwing and they're having a good time. I can take my family, or I can do that, and we've really opened up, trying to do more family stuff as well.
Yeah. And kids, like, what's the youngest that can come in here?
So any age can come in. We are what we call abilities based when it comes to who can throw. And we've had young people throw. The challenge you have with young people is the attention span. I would say somewhere in the 10-ish range is most realistic for attention span in here for an hour and 15 minutes, right? Our normal throwing time is 75 minutes. On the trailer, it's a little bit different, right? So we're working an event. I can get maybe even a 5 or 6 year old to come up and throw, because they're doing 5 or 10 throws. They're not doing 75 minutes worth of throwing.
Right.
But as far as in the venue, what I've seen to be the most successful is 10-ish Some kids, as you know, I have 4 and you have 3.
Yeah.
They're all different, right? Some of
Yeah.
them could pay attention for a long time, and some of them couldn't pay attention long enough for me to say what I just said.
You're right, exactly. Like I know, like my son Tony,
Yes.
like you met him. Like he keeps on asking, "Hey, when are we gonna go axe throwing?" And I'm like, "We're gonna go again. Don't worry, buddy. Like I got to get through this play stuff and stuff on
you're
the
as busy as I am. So.
Yeah, yeah. So, but yeah, he absolutely enjoys it. But I know, like my 2 older daughters, they're not. Their span is going to be like, well, I'll throw it once, and then I'm just going to go sit in the corner and sulk.
Yeah, understood. I mean, and like I said, so I would say 10-ish is the most likely 10-ish and above. But then, like I say, this 11 to 14-year-old boys, their attention span also changes
That's
very
true.
quickly.
Yeah.
Boy, yes,
yeah,
it does.
That's true. That's true. It does change. So, how's the reception been since you opened? Like, how's the community? Like, have you seen it grown throughout the years?
Yeah, so we get a lot of real positive feedback from, hey, Brunswick really needed something, and you had asked about why Axe Throwing or why we started this whole thing, and it really, my wife grew up here. I moved here almost 20 years ago, but we've been here on and off a little bit, and this town, in my opinion, has always lacked things to do.
Mm-hmm.
There's just not a whole lot of activities. You can go to the beach. I hate the beach. I don't want to go to the beach at all. It's either too cold, too hot, or too sandy, and one of those sticks around year round, so I don't have any urge to go to the beach. You just run, in my opinion, there's just not enough things to do here. And so that was, hey, if we create an activity, that would be good. People will want to do stuff. So we've had great feedback. It's a constant battle marketing, right? Trying to get people in the door. I'll say the even though the feedback's great, the consistency is still something that I'm trying to figure out. I was actually thinking about this earlier a little bit, and Frank and his cheesecakes, right? I know during certain times of year you go, hey, I'm capped out.
Oh, yeah.
But there's other times in the year that you would love to be able to, I wish I was making a couple more right now instead of, just getting jammed up in these couple holidays or these couple events. Let's spread this out. I don't mind being jammed up during those days, right?
Yeah.
So I love it when I have a packed house. On a Saturday, I'd love to see 3 different times throughout a Saturday that we're sold out and have a waiting list. That's my hope. Every Saturday is that we reach a sold out capacity 3 different times during the time from 3 to 11.
Right.
But then also have a day where I don't do anything in sales. That's what, that I would love to be able to figure out, right? So
Right.
there's a Thursday night I come in and it's going to be a great Thursday night until at 10 o'clock I'm like, oh, shit. I guess I'm going to go home now. and so getting that consistency.
Right,
So great
right.
reception, great feedback. Obviously, we're always looking for ways to improve and what else we can do. But the toughest part for me is being the consistent, right? Because you want to staff it, right? So I talked about how important it is for you to have a positive experience when you walk in
Right.
the door. I want to staff that appropriately because if you walk in the door and you can't get helped, that's an issue, right? Because now I've created a negative experience for you right from the very beginning.
Right.
And even if it is, I'm full and you got a waiting list and grab a beer and go sit over there and hang out where we're sitting, I'm good with that. But if there's no one to greet them, no one to talk to them because I didn't staff properly because all of a
Right.
sudden we're slammed. So trying to reach that consistent.
Right.
Yes, the worst thing a consumer or a customer can feel is neglected or ignored. That's probably the worst thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like you go into some place and you're just waiting there and nobody greets you, or you just seem like a shadow and no one cares that you're even there.
Yeah, there's some places here where, we walked in, I'm not going to name any places, but it took 3 hours to get served.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And how many people stick around for 3 hours, right? So Thursday night, my son has soccer and not far from here. So I dropped him off at soccer, came here. Cameron was working, and so we knew we had a reservation. We knew we had a couple groups coming in, and we were dealing with that. And it's like, okay, I've got to run and go get Maddox from soccer, and I'll be back. Well, I go get him, and my wife actually meets me there, and so she's able. We're trying to play the typical chase your kids down game, and ended up working out where I come back here. as I'm walking up, there's somebody walking out. And I knew they weren't here when I left, and I only left about 30 minutes ago. And I was like, hey, y'all leaving already? Oh, yeah, we were at the counter and no one was there. Because Cameron was working with a group. He had seen them, but was trying to get them to a stopping point so that he could come up here and address them. And like I said, this is Cameron's awesome, right? So this is not a knock on Cameron. Cameron is doing absolutely everything that he could do to make that right. And we always, our reservations are our first priority. If you made the time to make a reservation, you're going to be here at a certain time, we're going to take care of you first. So he knew they were there, but I just happened to come walking up. So I greeted him outside. We talked for a second, and I was like, "Hey, we're absolutely open. We have room for you. Come on." And they're like, "Well, we're gonna grab some food and come back." Well, they did come back, and it was just one of those things. We were able to salvage that. We didn't lose it. They posted on social media, had a great time, had great pictures. They were on this very first lane closest to us, so we got to laugh with them as they were doing good and bad things. Not dangerous, just not as effective as they wanted to as far as throwing axes go. But those things can hurt you, right? So being consistent in our staffing for what we're going to have from a customer base is very, very important, but it's very, very difficult.
What do you feel like that you or other businesses around here can do to get that consistency? You think there's like a magic bullet to it or magic wand that someone could wave and say, this is how I can figure out consistency? Or do you think there's underlying problem to not having consistency?
If you have that, can I borrow it for a minute?
I wish I had the answer, trust me.
That would help me a lot. I think we all run into it.
Yeah.
I won't name the business, same thing as Frank. It's not a negative, but I just don't want to put stuff out there. But this last First Friday, we've grown to know that First Friday is busy down here. Y'all both been down here on First Fridays. Now, this last one was a little goofy because the weather, it was expected to rain and ended up leaving soon enough that First Friday should have been a good First Friday. Well, it started off super slow. And I talked to a local restaurant that did half the normal business that they would normally do. But I also believe they were probably staffed for a First Friday. So which means they probably spent at least 25, 50, maybe 100% more on their staffing than it would have. So how do we get to a more consistent thing? I think downtown has to be consistent.
Right.
And I mean, the expectation from the customer has to be consistent, that you're going to get that good experience regardless when you come down here. You come down on a Wednesday night, you have a good experience. Right. You come down on a First Friday and everybody recognizes it's busy and there may be longer lines, but you have that consistent expectation and you receive that consistent service, whatever it may be. That you come on a Monday night or you come when Peaches to Beaches across the street, that you're able to do those things. So I think downtown, of course we have some crime issues that I think do exist. We do have some homeless issues that do exist. I don't necessarily, I know this isn't the point of this podcast or even this question, but the community still has, there's some gaps in what's being done, right? So
a stigma of downtown.
Absolutely. So with my wife growing up here, she still views downtown as a scary place. Yeah. She went to St. Francis Catholic School as a kid, like 1st through 8th grade, and she's like, "Yeah, downtown's scary." They've tried really hard to make it not scary. Yeah. But just when it gets not scary, there's a shooting, or there's a business owner gets stabbed in the neck with a bottle, right? So those things still do occur downtown. Yeah. So I think the Brunswick itself, downtown, they've got to get consistent. Right. So we've got to deal with those issues that occur. I give a lot of credit to the Downtown Development Authority. They're trying. I give a lot of credit to the downtown business owners. I mean, Susan from Tipsy's, right? When she moved downtown, I saw a post that she made the other day. People called her crazy. Right. Yeah. I think 13 years ago when she moved down, she's like, "Y'all are crazy. You're absolutely crazy trying to move downtown." But Tipsy's is now kind of a focal point, a foundation, whatever you plank holder, whatever the hell you want to call it, anchor. That's a good, better word. Thank you, Michael. For downtown, and I think that she took a risk, right? And you're seeing Keith and Nikki Schroeder, right? Yeah. Granted, they're new downtown, but they saw value and they opened Schroeder's Market, and then now Shroglo, and people started to question their location for Shroglo, and they're like, we believe in it. We believe in being able to do that. So I think what sounds very similar to the stuff that Susan got, Keith and Nikki got as far
Absolutely.
as the new opening there. So I think in order to have a consistent business success rate downtown, you have to have a consistent downtown.
Yeah.
And that is in the hands of a bunch of different people, to include the City of Brunswick, the Downtown Development Authority, the Golden Isles Development Authority, the Convention Visitors Bureau. For a long time, I don't think they marketed downtown from CBB.
Right.
Now they're starting to market downtown.
Yeah.
Why? Because there's some
There's
things
stuff.
to do.
Yeah,
I,
there's-
I argue, and I'm not trying to say the island is bad, but I would much rather go downtown
Yeah.
than I would go to St.
Yeah.
Simon's.
I mean,
Right.
and you always see me
You're
downtown.
downtown. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, downtown is starting to take on a life of its own.
Yes.
We moved here 9 years ago, and the first time I drove down Newcastle Street, I was kind of like, why did we move here? It was a ghost town. It looked like literally a ghost town. And, in the 9 years, we've seen this thing grow,
Yeah.
and we've always supported it. We've gone to as many First Fridays as we can go
Yeah.
to. We visit Silver Buff. I always, now they have the new wine shop there, which is my kryptonite.
And they just started serving wine, or they're going to. I think they got approved to serve
They-
wine
by
by
glass.
glass
They did,
now.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
think that just happened
You
last
know,
Wednesday.
and we always know if we're hungry for lunch, Tipsy's is a great place to have a lunch.
Yeah.
And moving on up, Reed's came in. Arte's always been there, and Arte is my favorite pizza in the area, and I know pizza.
Vampire Penguin.
Vampire
Ice.
Penguin. So it's been growing and it's great, and I think that the Brunswick and the Glynn County, the economic development that they're working on, is starting to take a foothold. And I know there's some new stuff that's in the works, just
Yeah.
coming along. So it's been great to see, and really, it's one of the things that kind of I think probably inspired the both of us to really
Yeah.
kind of get this podcast going, because there's so many good things here that people need to know about. That when I talk to people, they don't know about these things yet.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, how you've been living here, and how do you not know this?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting because that you mentioned that, because I'll be like, oh, like going to Maddox, or have you ever gone axe throwing? And some people are like, we have axe throwing,
Yeah,
and I'm like,
yeah.
how did you not know
Yeah.
that we we have axe throwing? Like,
Well, and that room, you can't reach everybody, right? And
Right.
so it does require things like this, and obviously I'm very, very appreciative to be asked to be on the podcast. I've done two other podcasts, and get to talk about business or whatever. But I think this is the first one that's been local to Brunswick, and we owe it to people, right?
Mhm.
It's worth a trip off the island to come to downtown.
yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
It's,
yeah.
it's 100. I mean, I will argue that and this is not saying that other places aren't good, but when you talk about the best food that you're going to eat in the Golden Isles, I would argue Schroeder's Market and Reed's should be the top of your list. And,
Oh,
right,
yeah.
and you still have Basil Thai, you still have Coastal, you still have all these other places, right? The best fries that you can get downtown are Tipsy's, right? The best
Oh, my
fries that you can
gosh.
get in the area are probably Tipsy's,
Right.
or Certified on the island. They have really good fries too. But those types of things, it's here.
Yeah.
It's downtown, and it's all in one place, right? The island is spread out. Yeah, you can go to Barrier Island, which is great. And then you go to Certified, and you can go to the pier, and you can go all these places. We've got it all right here. You can park in one place,
Yeah.
get a drink, go for a walk, go check out the cool views, grab some food. I mean, there are
Yeah,
obviously
throw some
throw
axes.
access.
Yeah.
Go climb a rock, right? We got
Yeah,
we got
that's
stuff
true. That's right,
downtown.
rock climbing, right?
We
Yeah.
we have stuff downtown. There's retail. There's food. There's activities all downtown.
There is.
And how now you can live downtown, right?
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, besides living in the communities that have always existed, now you have a lot of these buildings that have second floor apartments, just like our building, right?
Yeah.
So the Leotis building, where we are located, used to be a Bell Bonds place a long time ago, but right upstairs is apartments.
Yeah. And actually, this segues into like one of my questions here. Like, where do you see downtown going in the future?
So I still think there's tremendous potential, and I'm biased, right, because I'm down here, and then I talk to the owners of our building and others in the area. I think it still is going to continue, but I think to go back to my consistent thing, the city, the DDA have to be consistent.
Mm-hmm.
They've got to figure out some of our struggles that exist. There are lots of opportunities for grants and other things like that that exist through the DDA. But I think that they have to continue to bring stuff downtown, right? And expand from Newcastle and Gloucester. Newcastle, I think as far as available open spaces, meaning it's owned by somebody who wants to actively rent it out, I don't think there's an opening.
Yeah.
Now, I believe there's a building or two for sale, but those are for sale. And they're not cheap properties, so it's
Yeah.
going to take somebody to come in. I think one of them is, over $2 million. I think the
Yeah,
other
that's
one's
what is the old
antique shop down there.
Yeah, it used to be what, J.C. Penney's, something like that. I'm
believe
probably
so.
wrong, and someone's going to correct me. But speaking about that building, and I don't want to go off track this, but like if I had the money, and someone's probably going to steal this idea, it's fine because I don't have the money to do it anyway. Like if I had the money for that building, the old antique shop, I would turn that into a music venue. There's up in Charleston, South Carolina, I think it's the Music Farm or the Music Barn. Someone's going to correct me on that too. But it's a music venue, and it's exactly about the same size as that. And they get big name bands in that music venue.
Okay, so we're going to do that? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I
Three
mean,
of us?
the three of us,
are
yeah.
going
Oh,
to figure it
boy.
out?
Yeah, somehow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got
Frank's money, your ideas, and me as the realtor, right? So that's the way I'm
there
going
you
to
go.
look at
Yeah,
it.
yeah. And Frank's got gold bars.
Somewhere. I'm trying to still find them.
I think I do see downtown growing. I think there's lots of opportunity. There is a large apartment complex that's planned for downtown that will kick off before too long. The just down the road, going towards the marina or closer to the marina, there is a plan for that. That is coming soon. It's written into plans that I believe to be true. Or not that they're true, but I do believe they're actually going to happen. I think you will continue to get people to move downtown, but we still have to be consistent on the government side.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's not I'm not a more government guy. I'm a less government guy, but there are certain things that the government is absolutely responsible for. They are absolutely responsible for creating an atmosphere, an environment that creates businesses wanting to grow here, right? So if you don't create an environment that's safe and potentially profitable, meaning that keep the bad stuff out and allow good stuff to occur. If you don't do those things, people with money will not buy buildings.
Right.
They will not come in and invest multi-millions of dollars to bring their business here or bring even their money here to allow those other things. I think like the Crest moving in, I think is wonderful. I say the Crest moving in, the hotel opening, I think that's wonderful. I think we really need another hotel.
Yeah.
I think we need more people staying downtown, not just visiting downtown.
Right.
Let me change it. Not just doing day trips in, but actually spending the night here.
Yes.
Because there are places now that you can get a legit breakfast, right? You can get a legit lunch and legit dinner and legit entertainment. Well, if you're having to stay on the island, why wouldn't you just stay over there? Why wouldn't you go to Palmer's? Why wouldn't you go somewhere over there for breakfast? You're going to stay there and not come here. So
Right.
you have to get a hotel downtown.
Yeah.
More options than just the Crest Hotel,
Yeah.
which I think is great.
Yeah, 'cause you got Maggie Mae's, Schroeder's Market does breakfast,
Yeah, yeah.
amazing breakfast. If you guys have not tried it, just absolutely delicious.
Everything they make is absolutely
Yeah.
delicious.
Oh yeah. And what I like about their breakfast is it's all fresh. Like
Yeah.
they crack the eggs in front of you and make it. And then you're right. You got Tipsy's has live music. Reed's has live music. You have once in a while you have live music here.
Yes, we try to.
Yeah.
Music and mayhem is what we call it.
Yeah.
And there's also things like trivia nights, and they
Yes.
have music bingo in some places. And each place has things. I think one of the big things that doesn't happen is the word doesn't really get out.
Yeah.
The message isn't really sent. And, a long time ago, we relied on our morning newspaper to see what's going on. And that's kind of gone by the wayside.
Yeah.
There is the Brunswick News,
Yeah.
but it's not used as a guide to what is going on anymore.
Yeah.
And I know there's some people that are trying to do things like that, but I think as a group, a lot of these owners here on Newcastle and around could start doing some publications where things are coming out in the mail saying, this is what's going on. You do like a monthly mailer where, here's everything that's going on for the month.
Yeah, and maybe that's something for like the downtown development to do, like they, to send out a mass mailing, because they could probably get like the nonprofit postage stamp or something like that and send out. Like,
it's growing. You go back to the first time we came into First Friday, is nothing like it is now.
No.
I mean, they've expanded it all the way up to Reed's, where they have people selling their crafts or jewelry or freeze-dried candies or something like that. So it's grown. So more and more people are learning about it, and we recognize faces. We see people we know. It's becoming a very big social thing for us to come out here and be part of First Friday, but there's a lot more people that can enjoy it. Yeah. It's fun and it's safe.
Yeah.
That's the big thing.
100%. And like I'll take a sign out and put it on Gloucester and Newcastle every First Friday. I walk it out there, but I end up it takes me a half hour, 45 minutes to go up there and back, because I see people that I know and we talk for a few minutes, and I'll go to the next person I know. And, which is fun, right? Which is what I enjoy. The customer service interaction. It's the part of real estate that I really, really like as well. And just interacting with people in general. But there's still tons of people that don't even know First Friday exists, right?
Exactly.
And you've got 5,000 people downtown on a good First Friday, but we have 85,000-ish that live in our county. It's the biggest event. It's the biggest monthly event that happens anywhere in the Golden Isles.
Yeah.
And there are people in our community that still have no idea that it even exists, right? It's kind of like the fact that we've been open almost 3 years and people don't know that there's axe throwing in Brunswick, right? And so you're constantly trying to get that word out. And I think, to go to the point of people, the Brunswick News or getting a mailer or something like that, marketing is a struggle, right?
It is.
It is very difficult. You try to get to different audiences, and there's my audience is people with disposable income that are looking for entertainment, right? Because it's again not a cheap thing to do, but there are some sub targets within that, and so we've hit radio, we've done radio, different stations, we've done a lot of social media. Amazing, the most feedback I've ever got from anything is when I tried to get my alcohol license downtown. And just that being published in the newspaper, I got more feedback. Oh, I heard, or I saw that you're getting an alcohol license. Who reads this shit? Of all the things that are out there, right? Who reads this shit?
Guilty. I'm one of those. My wife thinks it's funny, but I'm one of those people that I will go on the Glenn County website, and I will look to see when the main plan commissioning meeting is, the IPC meeting, the actual commissioners meeting is, and I'll look at the agendas. Because I'm always interested, because everything's it's public knowledge, right? So I want to see what site plans are coming up, what construction plans, and then you'll also see who's applying for alcohol licenses and stuff like that. And that's it's always that's me. I'm the
one
guilty
thing
guy.
you never think of that catches people's eyes sometimes, and I know what it's like. I had a couple of restaurants, and when I took over my first restaurant, I had to apply for my beer and wine license. And like you, I had a lot of people walk in saying, well, I read that there's a new beer and wine license here. There's also pizza and Italian food. It's not just beer and wine.
How about a slice to go with that?
Right, you're hungry. So, it's odd how things go. But, with marketing, it's one of those things where you're not going to hit a bullseye with it.
Yeah. No pun intended.
No pun intended.
Yeah. Hit the outer ring is okay.
But my philosophy is the law of averages is the more people you reach, your higher chances of getting some people back.
Yeah.
And one of the best resources I had was real estate agents. When you have a pizza restaurant and when you move to a new community, your first point of contact is your real estate agent.
Person you use to get there.
And then the next thing is what's your first dinner in your new house? It's either going to be pizza or Chinese food.
Yeah. Yeah.
It really is.
Mm-hmm.
And even though pizza is junk food,
It's good junk food, Frank.
it is good junk food, but everyone
Delicious.
everyone is a connoisseur.
Yeah.
And so what I would do, I got in with the Real Estate Association,
Okay.
and if you gave me your business card, I'd give you these little certificates saying, welcome to the neighborhood, have a free pizza on me, and have the real estate agent's name. That got me so much business because
I bet.
once, and correct me if I'm wrong, but if you move here and you go to a pizza place, and if it's not bad, that's your pizza place.
Yeah.
You don't shop around.
No, you don't have to.
Yeah.
You found your place.
You don't shop around. No
Unless you're from New York, then you shop around till you find your place.
But to the point, if it's not bad, right?
Yeah.
If it meets, a couple things that you're looking for,
Your
right?
standards.
Yeah. Now you'll shop around, or you may try something else. But once you find your place,
yeah,
It's
you
true.
find your place.
You find your place. It's true.
But my best resource, my best marketing were the real estate agents in the area.
Yeah.
Because because you call, like, where can we get a pizza? Well, here's this coupon. Or, so even something here, if people are trying to move into the area and you're trying to sell someone on buying a house that's coming in, let's just say from Pennsylvania, you're not just highlighting the features of the house, you're highlighting the features of the community.
100%.
And you can say, hey, we got this great downtown, we got these great restaurants, we got a brand new wine place, but we got this axe throwing place. Of course, the dad's gonna be like, what? Axe throwing? Because Tim Allen comes in.
I think Mom is going to say, "Oh, axe throwing," but okay, go ahead.
But so it piques interest because it makes things more attractive. So.
Yeah. No, I think I absolutely think that goes to my point of that I wanted to make about being ambassadors, right? So y'all are obviously being ambassadors for our community. I want to be an ambassador for our community, specifically downtown, from a Matadox perspective. But we all have to be doing that.
Yes.
We had that conversation before we started recording about always working. But it's not all bad, right? We get an opportunity so for instance, the Schroeder's Market, right?
Yeah.
I have no reason other than the fact that I like them to talk about them, but they're good.
Right.
They're absolutely, it is tremendous, right? Whether you're talking about Roland or Keith or Nikki,
Yeah.
Savannah, Bella, it doesn't matter. I mean, why do I know them by name? Because I like them, and
Yeah.
because when you go in there, you always have a good experience, right? I know
Exactly.
what I'm going to get from each one of them.
Yeah.
Keith is going to give me a Knuckles.
Yeah.
Roland's going to give me a Knuckles. Savannah, I'm not going to tell you that Savannah's going to flip me off, but that's what she's going to do, all right? But that is, it's consistent, right?
Yeah.
I'll keep going back to that consistency. But when you have that place, right? These you know what you're going to get from Burger King, right? And
Right,
I'm not
yeah.
that I'm a big fan of Burger King, but you know what you're going to get from Burger King. When you know what you're going to get from a place, if you're not talking about it, if you're not saying, hey, it's whether it's your pizza place, your Mexican food place, all right, let's talk about La Salsa's chips. You know what you're going to get when you get La Salsa's chips. And when someone asks me, hey, what do you want to do for Mexican food? Mexican food's okay around town, but La Salsa has the best chips on the planet.
Right.
Right? We all have to be ambassadors for our community.
Exactly.
And I think it's even more important for us downtown folks to be ambassadors for the things that are downtown. There is plenty of business to go around. Yes, okay, there's a couple pizza shops, got it, right? There's a couple tattoo places, got it. There's restaurants, got it.
Yeah.
There's plenty. There's 85,000 people that live in our community, and there's all these visitors. When something's good, tell somebody that something's good.
Yeah.
I will not stop when somebody says, okay, where should I eat in Brunswick? Gotcha.
Yeah.
And I'll lay out my
Yeah.
list, right?
Yeah, I see that.
You're going to go and get whatever Schroeder's is serving for lunch. I don't care what it is. Pick something. It's going to be good, right? Because it's fresh made. It's right
Oh, yeah.
there. It's local.
Goodness, so
you're
good.
going to go get the duck nachos from Reed's. Go do it. Don't question it. Just go order it. It's going to be good. It's going to be consistent. You're going to like it, unless you're one of those that just can't eat things like duck. I don't just go.
Yep.
Right. But we have to be ambassadors for that. We have to be telling people. And I know I'm preaching to the gospel when it comes to this because y'all are doing those things. But if you have a good time at Maddox, go tell somebody you had a good time at Maddox.
Right. That's the biggest thing. Most people are inclined to, when they speak about a business, complain about a business. So you see more people will complain about a business rather than praise a business. We want to change that mentality. It's
100%.
like, not change it, but we want to make people rethink. Like, you've had a good time, say something.
Yes.
About it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know,
And you don't have to go and do a Google review, and of course those things are nice, right?
Yeah.
But go tell somebody.
yes.
When somebody said, when you meet somebody new and they're like, okay, what am I supposed to do while I'm in town? Give them a list. Give
Yeah.
them a list of places to go and do stuff. Right?
I do that all the time. So
Me too.
I drive Uber once in a while,
Okay.
and mostly on the island. But yeah, I get a lot of people come in and like, where's the best place to go?
Yeah.
And I can almost pull out a laminated list of where you want to go. The first thing I say is, listen, you've got to go over to Brunswick.
Yeah.
There's a road called Newcastle Street. All you need to do is park your car, start at one end of the block, and go down, turn around, and come up the other end of the block. You'll be fed well. You'd see some really cool things. You probably bought a few things, and you've had a good time, and you're ready to go
Yeah.
back to your
Yeah.
hotel room or condo
Yeah.
and feel like you had a great day. There's so many good things, but people ask. People really want to know, and so I'm always promoting, like, the speakeasy. When you tell people there's a speakeasy behind Reed's.
And actually, it's funny, like, you talk about, like, how people don't know that there's not axe throwing place. Like, a lot of people don't know that there's...
A speakeasy.
Speakeasy.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, but those are things we owe it to. If we want to see downtown work, right? Or you want to see Redfern work, or you want to see the Village work. I'm not being anti-inclusive when it comes to those things, because there's plenty of people to go around for all of these places.
What other? There's so much variety. That's the
Yes,
thing. There's
yes.
variety. It's not like there's 8 pizza places on Newcastle Street. There's 2.
There's two.
Yeah.
And-
There's a whole bunch of restaurants, but they're all different.
And I don't care where you send people, but send people somewhere, right? I don't say, I don't know, we really don't have a good place. No, bullshit. We have good places for all kinds of stuff.
Exactly.
Go to Darien, right? Darien has great food. They're about to have a microbrewery in
Yeah.
Darien.
Yes.
Go to Darien. I don't care. There's plenty of people to go around, but how are we supposed to not make our community look good if we don't talk about our community and the good
Right.
things about our community? Yes, there is bad shit that happens everywhere.
Exactly.
Yes, we have homelessness. Yes, we have crime. Yes, we have gang problems. Yes, there's drug problems.
It's everywhere, though.
Fuck it, it's everywhere.
It is everywhere.
Okay?
It is.
But talk about the good stuff. Everywhere you go, talk about good stuff. When someone asks you, hey, where do you like to eat? Well, this is where I like to eat.
Yeah.
And name off the 2 or 3 places that you like to eat. There are so many good places to eat in our area.
Yeah.
Tell people about it.
Exactly. And then I'm going to go off on, like, a tangent on that, because, like...
Like I didn't already.
Well, yeah. And then I guess it's my turn now. It bothers me, like, when people are like, "Oh yeah, but there's crime, there's homelessness." Like, they put this stigma, but, like, I've been to other places. Like, I've been to other cities. I've been to even the place where I grew up on Long Island. Like, it's not that great. Like, there's crime, there's gangs, there's homeless problems. Like, it's everywhere, right? You gotta get over sometimes that stigma that you think of, hey, I don't want to go downtown or wherever because I've heard there's a homeless problem or there's a crime problem. Well, there is sometimes, but you gotta, when you come down here, you don't see it.
Yeah, I agree.
It's not to the scale that they're thinking of.
Exactly.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I was trying to say.
It's
Yeah.
not San Francisco.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's not bad. I've never felt unsafe
Yes. Agreed.
Exactly. Agreed.
Agree.
down here. And maybe it's me. I mean, I grew up in a city, but when I come here with my wife and we're here on a first, or even just a random Sunday afternoon, I've never felt like unsafe anywhere around downtown.
Agreed. And I think it's just the societal twist on everything's negative. It's not all negative, right? There's so many positive things that are occurring. Let's not focus on the negative, right? There's plenty of it out there, right? And if you can't get beyond that, I feel bad for you. I really do. And I know we're talking about the positive things, but let's talk about positive things, right?
Right.
There are absolutely positive things. So
There's
let's talk
positive
about those
You
things.
can't let that stuff hold you back from having a good time.
Right.
And that's, I think, what people do. They've put this stigma on there, and it's,
Yeah.
I'm not having, we won't be able to have a good time.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, you limit your own ability to have a good time,
Yeah,
right?
right.
When you only can focus on negativity. Yes. Should you be aware? Should you be conscious of what's going on around you? Yes.
That should be everywhere.
But
not-
that's everywhere. That's
Yeah.
not just downtown or
Yeah.
just on the island or just anywhere. I mean, that's-
Downtown is beautiful.
It is, 100%.
100%. It is growing, and
Yes.
it is an amazing place to be here, to eat, shop, whatever. But I guess that's also going to lead into my next question: is like, what if you could put one thing downtown, what would it be?
So we kind of already talked about it a little bit about having additional, I'll say tourism, but from a housing perspective, right?
Right.
We do have some people that live downtown. There's some downtown businesses, but I think that having a hotel downtown, a short-term stay, and whether that's condos that are all short-term rentals or whether that's I just think a nice hotel, 100 or 150 room nice hotel, and whether it's a Marriott or a Hilton or a Holiday Inn, I don't give a shit. I think that having a hotel downtown that we get permanent visitors here,
Right.
I think is important.
Yeah.
I think that's something that would help us grow. Now, of course, fitting into our aesthetic would be wonderful, but there needs to be something downtown that gets people staying here on a regular basis to see all those positive things that we
Right.
talked about.
And one thing people don't really know is that Union Street, which is not that far off of, there's a number of bed and breakfasts
Yes.
on Union Street that I never knew about
Yeah.
until I was actually driving someone who was an Uber passenger to his bed and breakfast. I'm like, oh my God, this is a bed and breakfast.
Yeah.
So, again, it's people just don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's
Because
like,
you got like a Brunswick Manor.
Yeah.
Brunswick Manor. And the funny thing was, like, the guy took, it was late at night. It was, I think, probably 1 o'clock in the morning. He's like, man, I don't want to go into my room. Like, what are you talking about? It's like, it's haunted. I'm like, come on, man. He's no, like, 2 o'clock in the morning, all the lights turn on in my room.
And we could spend a whole another hour talking
Yeah,
about
that's a
hauntings.
different story
That's all-
altogether.
that-
Yeah.
But the thing is, there's some places where you can stay that, who knew?
Yeah.
Who knew that
Yeah.
there's
actually, one thing that's beneficial is the marina.
Yeah.
There's a lot, like I actually meet people downtown, like at Tipsy's or Reed's, and you start talking to them, and then you find out that they're actually staying on a boat at the
Yes.
marina, and they do this like for 6 months, for a year, and they absolutely love staying at the marina downtown
Yes.
and visiting all. Have you seen people come in from the marina?
Yeah, so we have a great relationship with the marina, right? So Michael Torres, Torres Causeway,
Mhm.
that family, right?
Yeah.
Michael does a lot for our community, and so I think he deserves some credit as a whole. I think his family as a whole has generations of giving to the community, but Michael specifically is doing a lot to enhance downtown. But the number of people that stay at the marina and do visit us and other places, they are our regulars, right? So
Right.
so we get some of them here. Gina, who plans all their activities, Gina's awesome. She actually texted me yesterday. We were talking about they're having an Easter egg hunt, and so we always do some type of give back. Their bingo, we do some free axe throwing, but she'll bring in a group, right? So they did, when was this, last month or month before last? They did a scavenger hunt for all of the marina guests, and whether they're there for a month or they're there for 6 months or there for a weekend, whatever it may be, they had an opportunity to compete in this scavenger hunt, and we were one of the stops.
Nice.
And
Sweet.
so we've done a bunch of stuff with them. We've taken the mobile trailer over there, and they've come over here. But Gina comes to see us about every 4 to 6 weeks. She'll bring a group over. but we're always doing something
That's
with Arena.
awesome.
But they do all of these businesses, right?
Yeah.
And they walk down the road and they'll come up and they'll stop at Schroeder's and they'll
Yeah.
go over to Tipsy's and they'll go get a beer and
And
then they work their way back and do the same thing.
And
I
the
mean,
ones that I've met that stay at the marina, they're really, really nice people.
Yes,
that stay at the marina.
100%.
They're all of them that I've met and talked to, they're just amazing people
Yes.
from all over the U.S.
Yes.
And they park they dock their boats. I should use the right terminology at the marina, and they just
yes.
bring this money into downtown and visit it.
So I grew up in New Mexico, and obviously water is a scarcity, or is in scarcity, or whatever my wife will correct me on whatever the version I was supposed to use. So I just think of marina people, water people being rich, right? These are very normal people.
Yeah, normal.
All kinds of boats. And you can, up all the way up the scale and down the scale, and they come in and they're spending their hard-earned money, whether it's their retirement money or whether it's their vacation money or whatever it is, they're spending it in downtown.
Yeah.
And we owe a lot to them. We
Yeah,
owe a lot
we do.
to Michael and them as they build that out, right? They're constantly building that out. I know they post a bunch on social media talking about how they're trying to make it as weatherproof as possible, trying to prevent, because they don't want something bad happening to one of their boats that's
Right.
parked on the dock. So they're always doing.
Yeah, and so I've heard, and it's probably true, but I don't want to say it's true. I don't want to start any rumors. But anyway, but Brunswick is almost like a hurricane safe harbor.
Yes. Very very safe in comparison, right? Because of where it's at and the inland, and there's all
Yeah.
kinds of things.
And it may or may not be true. I don't want to be liable for anything.
They're starting rumors
That
already.
was
Yes.
Michael that said that.
Yeah,
That was
it
not
was-
Frank or Jason. That was Michael.
It was the bearded
The
guy.
views of the beard are not.
Yeah, the views of the beard are not the opinion of this podcast.
The geography of the coastline allows us for hurricanes coming up the east coast of Florida to kind of
Yeah.
pass us by and unfortunately go right into North Carolina or the north
Yes,
part of South
right.
Carolina. So we've been fortunate. I mean, we've had some pretty good ones,
Yeah.
but we've been fortunate in the 9 years that I've been living here that we haven't had like a direct hit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
For
I credit that mostly because of how we're situated.
that little nook that we're
Yeah.
kind of in there.
Well, and then the tectonic plate, where we sit, the shallow water, all those things are beneficial to us when it comes to the actual potential impact, right?
Right.
We will get hit. Those things will occur, but not to the same extent other places.
Yeah.
Fortunately, there's lots of things that help us in our
Yeah.
area.
It's a beautiful area. I
It
mean,
is.
if anybody that doesn't live here that's listening to this, you definitely need to come visit. Come downtown Brunswick. Come axe throwing.
Yes.
So we're coming up on an hour now.
Yeah.
Once again, tell everybody where you're located with Matadocks.
All right, so Matadocks Axe Throwing, 1510 Bay Street, right across from Mary Ross Park in historic downtown Brunswick. Lots of great places to come visit us. Check our website, matadocksaxethrowing.com. I'm sorry, matadox.com or at Matadox Axe Throwing on any social media thing that you can think of, to include TikTok. Unfortunately, you will see the videos of me talking about Matadox if you go to TikTok, because that's all that we have on TikTok. But we'd love to see you come visit us downtown. And then obviously, if you are relocating or you're wanting to sell your house, obviously Jason Kirkendall, Realtor, would be happy to serve you in any capacity as far as that goes. I know we haven't spent much time talking about that side of it because we're talking about Matadocks, but there are so many opportunities in the real estate world, whether you're buying, selling, commercial. I get to meet some of the coolest people. Real quick story, my first listing as a real estate agent is people that are tied to Matadocks. Right, so people that I know that own the Claw and Roof food truck. Right?
Oh,
so,
yes.
So
Yeah.
they own a property out in Brantley County that I'm helping them sell right now. And if it wasn't for Matadocks and my experience with them, then they wouldn't have asked me to help them sell their property. And so that's the other thing, is I get the opportunity to meet so many people. I mean, like the two of you, right? So I
Right.
met the two of you through Matadocks.
Yeah.
Frank came in at our old location, and I had no idea about Frank's Cheesecakes. I just didn't even know it existed, right? But then we start talking, and again, it's just the opportunity that I think I don't call it customer service. It's just the expectation that you want to create an environment that people. I like people.
Yeah.
Now I don't want to be in a big crowd. That's a different story. But, but as far as like this experience, right? So I met Frank that way, and then Michael. Obviously, I met you because I was trying to come up with things to do at Matadocs, and you posted from the Wizard account that said, "Hey, what about a beard competition?" And I was like, "Are you serious?" And we met at Silver Bluff, right?
Right. Yeah. With Silver Bluff, and we
had-
talked about it.
I had no idea who the other people were or who we were in general outside of that, but we talked about it. And this owning businesses and being willing to step outside of what the normal path is for so many people gives you an opportunity to meet people,
Yeah.
right? So I would have never met the two of you.
Exactly.
The likelihood of me meeting the two of you is slim to none. And so I'm very grateful for those types of things.
Yeah.
And then somebody's calling me at
Yeah,
Matadocs.
yeah, someone's calling about it. But, thank you, Jason, for being on here. Get the phone ringing. We're taking calls now. No, really appreciate you having you on our show, and we're hoping that this grows and we get more people in the community on here. So,
Well, I very much appreciate the opportunity to talk about Matadocs and talk to the two of you and listen to my voicemail, which
yeah, it's going on now.
Business is now open.
Yeah,
Well, you do open at 3:00.
we do
so-
open at 3:00. Thank y'all. I mean, what y'all are doing, I told y'all before we started recording, I got an opportunity to listen to the Benet podcast, episode 1. Just the fact that there's people out there like the two of you that are trying to help the community. This is fun, right? So I could sit here and have this conversation all day.
Oh, yeah.
And I think we do have these types of conversations all day, right? The
Yeah.
three people like us.
Yeah.
We're ambassadors. We're people that want to see others be successful, and I appreciate what y'all are doing and trying to obviously help me in my business, but in the same thing, just help all these other people, right? So there's so many good places to visit. I don't care what town you live in. Okay, I'm biased. Brunswick, Georgia is all right. Downtown Brunswick, Georgia is an all right place to visit. But there's people like y'all that are out there trying to. Y'all have no vested interest in Matadocs Axelrod. Y'all have no reason. Y'all aren't getting a financial kickback. Okay, I'm throwing in a free beer today, but that's the extent of it, right? Y'all have no reason to do this other than the fact that y'all think it's something that needs to be done.
Yep.
And there's people like y'all all over the world, and I'm extremely grateful that y'all asked me to be on the podcast and gave me an opportunity to talk about it.
Thank you. We appreciate it.
We appreciate it. And thank you for letting us come in here and
Yeah.
having a great talk. This was amazing.
Yeah, I mean, if the memory would let us, we could talk, or if people's attention span would last that long, that's the other problem.
I think that's the problem.
But, yeah. But once again, thank you, Jason. So this is the Beard signing off.
And Buddha,
And Jason Kirkendall, thank y'all very much.
thank you.